Commonwealth and European Cruiserweight Champion Chris Billiam Smith, like a lot of fighters who've been fighting on DAZN and MATCHROOM cards, he doesn't actually have a contract with MATCHROOM. Now, Chris's beef was he wanted to have a fight in Bournemouth, where he resides. Funnily enough, he was born in Epsom, Surrey, but he has an attachment to Bournemouth. And he said that Eddie couldn't deliver that fight because Eddie had to, paraphrasing, curtail to DAZN's wants, which led to Billiam Smith reaching out to Sky. If that's how it happened, maybe Sky reached out to him. And of course, with no hesitation and their determination to stay step for step with Eddie, they gave him that fight in Bournemouth against Isaac Chamberlain, 14-1 from Brixton. His only loss to Lawrence Okoli. It's a very good fight. It's a good matchup. It's a fight that, because of not random events so much, but because of the unpredictable nature of the business, like Mick Hennessy getting to showcase his fighters on Sky, Isaac Chamberlain, he gets an opportunity now to fight on Sky against the European and Commonwealth title holder. It's a massive fight for Isaac. Isaac was basically in the wilderness. Like, he knocked out Dylan Prajovic, who Lawrence Okoli took out shortly beforehand in a world title defense. He shouldn't have been in the ring with Okoli. And he shouldn't have really been in the ring with Isaac. And before that, some of the opponents that Isaac was fighting on Channel 5, like, phew. Let's just say it's good to see Isaac in a real fight. Eddie Hearn has got a lot going on the top elite end of world boxing. A lot. So the question could be asked, is he neglecting some of the homegrown domestic roster? Guys like Billiam Smith. There's rumours that Lawrence Okoli is a little disgruntled. Chris Billiam Smith said he's betting on himself when he was asked, now I'm paraphrasing, what if it all goes belly up? Then you're going to be out of favour possibly with Eddie, Sky. And he gave a very articulate answer, because basically in his contract, and maybe a lot of MATCHROOM fighters' contracts, probably not Canelo or AJ, but if you lose, they can drop your pay rate in your next fight, regardless of who you're fighting. So you're always betting on yourself in boxing, whether you're on a fixed contract or not. And he seemed to be leaving the door open that he could go back to MATCHROOM, which is smart. You got to win. But you see, DAZN are the front runners in British boxing right now. Despite what Frank Warren wants to say about PT, no, DAZN are the front runners. They're not trying to put shows on in Bournemouth. I'm not saying they do all the shows in London, because we know Newcastle, good to go. With the likes of Lewis Ritson and whatever other attractions they have up there, good to go. Liverpool, good to go. There's certain cities that have an infrastructure for DAZN to put cards on in. Manchester, but Bournemouth. But Chris was saying because Sky is more of a domestic platform than DAZN, they were more likely to accommodate him. Now, that could be true, but the other point of contention to be considered is, they saw a chance to get a MATCHROOM fighter and they didn't hesitate to get in there and give him what he needs, and that's a fight in Bournemouth. Now, if that makes Chris happy and helps him perform, it's all good. Isaac Chamberlain, he used to fight on Sky too. But after he lost to Okoli, he saw his opportunities get reduced and reduced. And he had a lot of other issues as well. It's a tough fight to call, but I don't like Chamberlain's opposition since he beat Luke Watkins in 2018. Was that on Sky? I think it was on Sky. That could be his last fight on Sky. The opponents haven't been that good. Not saying that Chris Billiam Smith has been fighting world beaters. His best opponent is Richard Riakporhe, who he lost to. And Isaac's best opponent is Lawrence Okoli, who he lost to. I think it would be safe to say Chris fighting at European and Commonwealth level would have been fighting stiffer opposition than what Isaac has been facing in the last couple of years. I don't know. Let's see if Chris Billiam Smith can be the next Freddie Mills, because he was the last big star who did anything in Bournemouth, as far as I know. Congratulations on Callum Smith, not waiting for something to be handed to him, trying to stay busy. There's an Eliminator a final eliminator on the table for one of Beterbiev's belts, the WBC light heavyweight title. He'd have to take on Mathieu Balderic, a French cruiserweight, who has a record of 21 wins, 12 stoppages, and 1 loss. The 1 loss was to an opponent named Dragon Lepe. Now, Balderic is now the European cruiserweight champion as well. His last victory was over Igor Mikhalkin. That was last year. This eliminator is going out to purse bids. Will it land on the USYK Joshua undercard? That's yet to be decided. Seems a no-brainer that Eddie will probably work out a deal on this one before it gets to a purse bid. I wouldn't imagine the Italians contesting a purse bid against DAZN and MATCHROOM. We saw Callum knock out Lenin Castillo, who had never been stopped before and was assumed to be a very durable fighter. He took him out in 2 in frightening style. That was his light heavyweight debut. And even though Callum has only fought once at light heavy, he has a vastly superior resume to the Frenchman. Vastly. And Callum will be expected to win this in style. He's now trained by Buddy McGirt, was a huge super middleweight, and he's a huge light heavy. Callum is now 32 years of age. Can he win a world title at a second weight class? 28 wins, 20 knockouts, 20 stoppages, 1 loss to Saul Canelo Alvarez. Let's remember he has an extremely impressive record. 1 loss to Canelo. Not going through no triangle theories, but we saw Castillo was comfortably able to go the distance with Bivol. Not give Bivol any issues, but he went the distance comfortably, and Callum blew him away. Callum was also the WBSS champion at 168, where he knocked out George Groves. Callum Smith should not be slept on. Let me tell you this now, by nobody. By Beterbiev, by Bivol, Yard, Boatsi. Nobody should be sleeping on Callum Smith. His opponent is no spring chicken. He's the same age as Callum, but has a lot less accomplishments. He's 32. And while I'm going to be rooting for Callum Smith, I like Callum Smith. Let's hope they ain't brought a chump in just to fold up after a couple of punches, although he probably will, but we can always hope. They can at least give Smith a little bit of resistance.
You see the face? I am the next superstar. Ben Whitaker, remember the name. You see the little hair with the glisten. You see the white teeth. There's nothing more to say. I will be a world champion, and I will be Britain's best ever boxer. On to the next.
Big up Boxer Double X for outbidding Eddie Hearn to secure Ben Whitaker's signature. But something inside me would love to see Eddie promoting a kid like that with a mouth like that. I will become Britain's best ever boxer. Don't put no pressure on yourself then, Ben. Hey, look, right? You see, it's a tried and tested gimmick, if you like, in boxing. The villain. Because people can't resist the pantomime. Some don't realize they're being trolled, and some enjoy being trolled. And it's a great dynamic, isn't it, between fan and fighter. Boxer Double X and Sky Sports have drafted a 1-page code of ethics that has to be signed by any boxer who fights on the Sky Network to confirm they have no ties to companies previously linked to Daniel Kinahan, whether that's PROBELLUM or MTK. Although MTK, they closed down, they're now defunct. Why are they still an issue? I wouldn't know. A few weeks back, or a month or so back, Bob said that Kinahan is still running PROBELLUM and MTK. PROBELLUM threatened legal action but went no further. And they're threatening legal action with Ben Shalom, but they don't have a leg to stand on. At this stage here, they really don't have a leg to stand on. The preponderance of evidence that PROBELLUM and MTK before them have links to Daniel Kinahan, it's not like the best kept secret. The receipts are all over social media and the internet. It's hard for MTK or PROBELLUM to make a case where they can defend themselves with any success. John Fury confirmed that Tyson Fury is banned from entering the USA, and his brother Tommy was looking to get himself a nice little bag fighting Jake Paul can't travel to America. But apparently he was in America the other week. But it seems to me they probably didn't bother with him when he was partying or whatever he was doing. But as soon as they found out, you're going to make money, are you? Banned. They scapegoated him. They made an example out of him. Ben Davison, Matthew Macklin, they've all been banned from entering the US. Can't be that much wiggle room for Daniel Kinahan to do anything in boxing or anything in the business world at this point. But the US government and the US Treasury, they're going to stay on his neck right now. They're going to stay on his neck until it's basically untenable for any of his business associates or business contacts or boxers he's worked with to have anything that can trace them to him. They're going to have to either turn their back on him or disassociate themselves or start informing for the sake of their own liberty, freedom and livelihood. Yeah, I know some people are going to say no snitching, but it's easy to say that when the pressure ain't on your neck. The tactic is to ostracize him. No protection from his powerful friends, no ability to make money with his powerful friends. Eventually, the funds will start dwindling, and that should leave him vulnerable to be bagged up. He done too much too fast. Him, MTK, PROBELLUM, too much too fast. And there's also accusations of poaching fighters. This could be where the big players in boxing ganged up on him and fucked him over. Allegedly, he poached Jojo Diaz from his managers. They had to take out an injunction in court to freeze payments from one of Jojo's fights going to Kinahan as opposed to Diaz's original management. Barry McGuigan said he had fighters poached by Kinahan as well, and MTK. Josh Taylor, Lee McGregor, Chantel Cameron, and perhaps Martin Bacoli wrecked Barry McGuigan's business. And PROBELLUM, they acquired a lot of Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn fighters who I'm assuming weren't in contract. And this is, I guess, a grey area. In contract, out of contract. They're saying that Lawrence Okoli was approached, I'm not going to say by who, but you can probably guess by who, and approached illegally because he apparently is in contract with MATCHROOM. He does have a contract. But it's the ethics, isn't it? Even if a fighter doesn't have a contract with a promoter, it's the ethics about approaching a fighter you've seen working with this promoter exclusively, consistently, and then you step in there. And I think Daniel has just rubbed a lot of people up the wrong way, and he wasn't planning on stopping there, especially after he acquired the deal with Eurosport. And it could be a case that some of the big guns have thought, yeah, we got to slow him down. No, we got to stop him. Stephen Fulton, good fighter. A lot of people were very skeptical with his post that he put on Twitter just the other day. He is now the unified WBC and WBO champion. And the other man with the other two straps is MJ or Akhmadaliev. And Stephen is saying, at Eddie, we need them other two belts. He wants the unification. A lot of people are skeptical. They're saying, funny how PBC champs pretend they are allowed to fight champs from other platforms. Someone said they're trying to insult our intelligence. Like we don't know Heyman is the one controlling everything behind the scenes. Someone said, bruh, respect your game and all, but you need to be saying this to Al and not Eddie. Nah, I have to thumbs up that comment there. Unless Al has gave him the go-ahead to talk to Eddie. See, Al doesn't speak and he doesn't really have a representative who has been very accommodating to the wants and needs of the consumer. See, they're all saying that, look, your benefactor Al won't let you play outside like that. They're just jerking him. Every comment is jerking him. You need to convince Al Heyman he's the one who protects his fighters and makes the calls on that side of the street. Wow. Nobody believes him. Nobody believes him. You're a PBC prisoner. People have lost faith in the PBC. People don't believe they're trying to do good for the whole of boxing. And these are not British Eddie Hearn fans who are going against Stephen Fulton. Because in all truth, most Brits don't even know who he is, in all truth. These are American boxing fans. And all that talk about Eddie doesn't know what he's doing in America, a lot of Americans are displeased with the PBC. A lot of people are displeased that a lot of fights are not happening. You know, and like the PBC don't have a spokesman. Al doesn't speak. So maybe Stephen Fulton, who is busy training and trying to be great, and I believe Stephen is trying to be a great fighter. I do believe that. I believe he wants to be undisputed, but maybe he's unaware of the politics that his advisor and promotional outfit put in front of a lot of fights. Maybe he's unaware, and he's probably surprised at the backlash. So Eddie Hearn is saying that Joshua's DAZN deal doesn't really kick in until after the USYK fight, and because the TV rights are owned by whoever paid for the site fee, it's at the Saudis' discretion on who broadcasts the fight. Now, the guy at Sky, Andy Clark, he says that the Saudis would prefer Sky to broadcast the fight. Eddie Hearn is saying, well, Andy Clark is a reporter. He's not a director. He's not Adam Smith. So how would he be privy to such information? Paraphrasing what Eddie was saying, but Eddie was kind of mocking the whole idea that Andy Clark would know or be authorized to be the bearer of such news. I'll tell you what, you could tell IFL Umar this as well. Sky are desperate to stay in the Joshua business. And before anyone in the comment section says until he loses, you are incorrect. Joshua is a brand. Henry Cooper was never a world champion, but stayed hugely popular with the British public until he retired. Same with Billy Walker. If you're a brand over here, you're a brand. Frank Bruno had his first title shot in 1986, and it took him 4 attempts. And then in 1995, he finally won the title. Did the British fan base go anywhere and say, "Yeah, we're going to abandon Frank"? No. They loved him. I don't think there'll be a stage where Joshua cannot fill out the O2 arena. Yeah? There may come a stage where he can't do stadium fights. Yeah, that may happen. He's always going to be big viewership figures on TV and big box office, always. Now, I'm not saying he's going to hit 1 million pay-per-view buys every time like he did against Parker, Klitschko, but still a very bankable commodity. Very bankable. Loads of big fights out there for him, loads. Wilder, Fury, Joyce, Dubois, loads. Whether he loses to USYK or not. I didn't know what to make of this. This was kind of a public admonishment of Eddie Hearn, indirectly. Joe Makowski, an executive vice president of DAZN, he's expressed his dismay with the way certain promoters denigrate each other repeatedly through the media, including the promoters exclusively aligned with the platform. And I'm saying indirectly, it's actually direct. He's pointed to the behavior of Eddie Hearn and his rows with Leonard ELLERBE. They go back and forth with viral videos and spats and shit. He didn't mention De La Hoya by name, but referred to him as the head of Golden Boy Promotions, who was blaming Eddie Hearn for Canelo losing to Bivol recently. He said it only alienates other competitors with whom DAZN may want to work with on big fights down the line. What we won't do, and you've never seen us do this, get into a back and forth with other promoters dismissing them, dismissing the prospect of working together. This is what Joe said at the press conference of Canelo versus Golovkin on Monday. He expressed concern that verbal tiffs between Hearn and rival promoters would only hurt the DAZN brand. We don't want our promoters to do that, engage in quarrels, which they do, Markowski continued. Eddie does it, we slap them on the wrist. We don't want our brand associated with that kind of behavior because we don't think it's conducive to doing our job properly. So Eddie's been warned. I wonder if Eddie is out of favor with some people in DAZN. It looks like he could well be, because I would argue that the failed attempt at getting the undisputed fight between Fury and Joshua was down to the animosity between him, Frank Warren, and Bob Arum. What about the Devin Haney, Kambosos fight for undisputed? He doesn't get on with Lou or Bob. At the same time, DAZN are a little short-sighted. Even before Eddie made enemies in America, they were shitting all over the app. The whole concept of the app. It doesn't work properly, it's crap, nobody's gonna buy it. They were shitting all over it in America. So while I would admit Eddie went in there like Jack the Lad, I'm gonna take over America, pay-per-view's dead, which it is to a degree in America, they are scapegoating him a little. In all truth, this is the second article that I found on Boxing Scene with Joe Makowski today, and I think he's a little frustrated, not just with Eddie, but the whole American scene, because he's talking about Bob Arum, and he took issue with Arum's seemingly preemptive, combative stance and apparent objection to broaching the topic of collaboration and making an undisputed fight with MATCHROOM's Dmitry Bivol and Top Rank's Artur Beterbiev, a fight the boxing fans want to see. And listen, I'm an Anthony Yarde fan, no doubt about that, but there is no buzz apart from his immediate circle and a few other British boxing fans. There's no buzz for that fight before Beterbiev and Bivol, and I'm just being honest. I think DAZN are a little frustrated with some of the stuff that Arum said, calling it dead zone, dark zone. Joe Makowski doesn't mention that here, but I think they're a little frustrated. Bob Arum said he has no desire to let Beterbiev fight Bivol on DAZN, which he has constantly denigrated for its supposedly, this is what boxing scene says, supposedly dismal viewership figures. We're not doing a fight on that dead zone which nobody watches, Arum cracked. Makowski came back and said, that's absurd, right? He said he's got a lot of respect for Bob, but there's a problem in boxing with promoters and broadcasters refusing to cooperate with other promoters and other broadcasters. Fights will not happen if people have that attitude. As a boxing promoter, Bob Arum's job and the job of his company is to make boxing fights happen. Boxing fights that the public want. Makowski said, we are willing to work with other promoters and other broadcasters for the bigger fights on the pay-per-view platform. We can price match, we can operate in shared rights. We are willing to do that. Boxing promoters' jobs are to make big fights happen. Telling the public they won't because of internal business competition reasons is a surprising tactic to take and a surprising communications line to take to the public. It's basically saying, I won't do my job. I won't do my job for you, the boxing fans, in making the fights happen. He broke it down. Your job is to make fights happen that we want to see. Makowski has questioned Arum's rhetoric earlier this year when Arum made comments about DAZN broadcasting the Amanda Serrano-Katie Taylor fight, saying that people are not into women's boxing. Just a strange thing to say, and then Katie and Amanda done bigger viewership than the card that Bob had on the same night. Two men, two featherweights in a unification. Shakur Stevenson and Oscar Valdez. So much for that dead zone shit. Looks like they sent Makowski out there to address a lot of shit, not just Eddie, not just Bob Arum, but the whole of the American scene in terms of working with each other. The frustrations are spilling over, you can hear it. 2 articles in one day.